Hey guys, it's me, Dax, with the first in the series of the Date with Dax video. So every day for 30 days, I'm going to be answering the questions of the tribe here, doing my best to kind of deep dive into them. So really it's fair game. You get to ask anything that you want to ask about any part of the journey or the kind of the transformation that you're currently taking part in. Any kind of piece of advice or piece of guidance or piece of missing information that you feel you need in order to make your journey a smoother, easier, more enjoyable one. Okay, so today's video, I'm answering a question from Jackie. I'm just going to read it out here. It says, please explain journaling, why I should do it, and what will it help me to achieve? What a great question. A lot of people, a lot of coaches, a lot of personal trainers advise their clients to journal. Very often we don't do the best job of telling people why. So you're like, hey, I'd like you to take this home and I'd like you to start journaling. And a lot of people are kind of a bit confused as to the value of it. Clearly, there's an element of this with Jackie, right? But I'm sure this is true for a lot of people watching this. So why should you journal? It's not a case of should. There's no should to journaling, right? Mostly I say that because I'm really big on the idea of freedom, right? There's no musts and have-tos and all the rest of it. But there is this really simple idea about, am I doing everything possible to help myself in the journey that I'm currently undertaking? Some people honestly, genuinely don't really feel the need for journaling. And their journey is borne out by the fact that, hey, I'm doing all right. Like I'm not sitting down and writing every day. And other people are faithfully writing down their journals every day and they wouldn't do without them. And then there are other people that don't feel the need for journaling, but who consistently tell me that they're struggling and facing lots and lots of challenges on their journey and they can't really figure out why, right? If you're in that latter section, if you're, you haven't been journaling and you've been kind of a little bit resistant to it or not really seeing the value of it, and yet you find that yourself facing the same challenges over and over again, it may, I'm not saying you should, it may well be a great idea for you to consider bringing journaling into your life. Because it can be an extremely valuable tool. And here's why. The best way to think about it is a journal is simply a record of your journey, right? That's really what it's down to, right? A journal is a record of your journey. So in old days, you think about it, kind of old sea captains and stuff like that and explorers, they would chart every place they've been to, like literally like by the stars, by the compass. They'd draw little maps and they'd say kind of to stay a certain distance off of that edge of the coast because there were reefs there, and they would mark everything down. So why? What was the purpose of that? Well, they would mark down all the positions and all the star positions and the time they got there and the time of day they got there, and they'd record everything with the ultimate intent to find their way home, right? First and foremost was to find their way home. And secondly, so that should they ever want to come back this way again, if they do find something really amazing while they're out there, that they're going to be able to sail directly to that place. They're going to have all the navigation points on the chart, and they'll say, okay, whenever we get lost, we know where to come back to. And so it doesn't matter whether it's a case of getting lost on our return journey, well, we know where to go to, or if we want to come back here again, or even continue on our journey, we can use all the same landmarks and all the same waypoints to get us to where we most want to go. So they wanted to be able to go where they wanted to go. They wanted to be able to get back if they wish. In other words, their journal gave them a great deal of prediction and probability about the journey, both getting them where they wanted to go, getting them back, and ultimately about being safe and having the best possible and most efficient and most effective journey. Is that kind of tripping a few kind of bells there? Is that making sense? That, kind of early navigators did that. Well, if early navigators and explorers were doing that and it was so effective, in other words, kind of we were able to map all the known world, get all around the world, all the continents got mapped, people were able to open up shipping lanes and all that. It's like huge feats when you really think about it. Going from, back in those days, going from the complete unknown where we didn't really know what was going to be over the horizon, or even land-based navigators, people that landed in the Americas, for example, for the first time, and they didn't really know where they were going, but as they started out on their journey, they started drawing maps of where the streams were and where the fords were and where the mountains were and all that kind of stuff, right? Started to draw the maps, and as they started to draw the maps and they're keeping a log, if ever they needed to go back, they were able to go back. If ever they, kind of wanted to explain to someone else how to get here, they were able to do it. They were able to find their way a lot better. journals are still used for this, like personal journals. They're still used for this. When you write down what kind of day you've had, what kind of emotional situations you found yourself in, what you ate or didn't eat, and that's, obviously if you're keeping like a more nutritional journal. But kind of when you keep information like this, what you're kind of saying to yourself is you're serious about serious enough about the journey that you're on to want to be able to keep the most important information to hand. So that if you do get lost, if you do get off course, you've got an easy way to find your way back. Now, of course, you might think, well, some of this stuff is just like day-to-day life. Like, who gives a crap, right? It's obvious. It's like, I don't need to write that down. Well, here's the interesting thing about how the human brain works. It's brilliant, right? Kind of right brain, creative, and kind of thinking all about the futures. That's all of your goals and all of the ideas about kind of the new body shape that you want and the house on the hill that you want to be in, the vacation you want to take, and all that kind of stuff. That's all kind of right prefrontal cortex, the right side of your brain. The left frontal side, the left prefrontal cortex is all about logic and steps A, B, C, D, E, and kind of keeping track of everything. Like, what comes first? What comes second? What should I do next? What should I do next? Well, have you ever noticed that when you get stressed, overwhelmed, burned out, emotional, kind of, any of those things, which are also part of your everyday, day-to-day life, that you kind of tend to become, for want of a better expression, and this isn't meant to offend anyone, but you tend to become a little bit stupid, right? Kind of things, afterwards you go, oh crap, I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I did. I was so pissed off at work, I found myself head down in a bucket of Haagen-Dazs, right? Or whatever it is. It doesn't make sense given what you said you wanted to do, but you did it anyway. Or you come home and you've had a really crappy day at work and you come home and start screaming at the kids or having an argument with your partner, any number of things, but they pull you off track. Well, why is that? It's because when you're stressed, burned out, overwhelmed, emotional, you get pulled out of your prefrontal cortex. You can't keep the big goals in mind and you can't imagine or focus on the logical steps. And instead you become this reactive person. And when you're reactive, you don't act sensibly. In other words, when we're emotional, when we're stressed, when we're burned out, we are out of our minds, like quite literally out of our minds. The only place in the human brain that could be called the mind is really the prefrontal cortex. And we're out of it. We are downgraded. And so, you think about it, we're relying in life a lot on hoping that we can stay human enough, hoping that we can kind of stay in this kind of this mind part of the brain enough to keep us on track. And it should be keeping us on track, ideally. But life gets in the way, right? You get pissed off, you get upset, you have an argument, somebody cuts you up in traffic, any number of things, and suddenly you're finding yourself, air quotes, acting dumb. Not that anyone's stupid, but acting dumb given that you know what you want to accomplish and yet you find yourself doing the exact opposite. I want to get into the best shape of my life, and yet here I am with a bucket of Haagen-Dazs kind of eating it, right? Does that make sense? So the value of a journal is that when we're feeling lost, first off, we can keep track of the things that have a tendency to pull us off track, right? That sounds a bit weird, but you've a tendency, like, for example, one of the things for me, I found myself arriving at work in the mornings like really, really stressed out because like it happened over and over and over again. And I was getting really, really stressed out, and that stress kind of led to me kind of, feeling anxious at work and snapping at people and not being at my best. And as I applied it, it was really all down to the route that I was taking to work. I always got caught in the same traffic at the same place and started getting really pissed off and getting really upset. It was only as I obviously that you should be able to kind of figure that out and just go, hey, just go a different way. But it was only when I sat down with my records and my journal, I kind of started to see this trend. On days when I went a different way, I didn't arrive in a mood. Now, the trouble is, the other way was a slightly longer journey, but it enabled me to ask the question, what's more important to me? What keeps me on track more? Leaving a little bit earlier for work and getting there early, like avoiding all of that, but getting there a bit too early for work, but peaceful, or leaving this way and getting to work aggravated and pissed off, and then starting to do too many of the things that I didn't want to do that didn't serve my goals. And that was all recorded in the journal. So by going back through your journal, you get to find out exactly what's working for you and what's not. In Buddhism, they have a term, skillful, right? So skillful is not about morals, morally right and morally wrong, and it's not about being good or bad or any of those things. A lot of the things that we often tend to associate with things like diets, oh, I was good today, I was bad yesterday. Instead, in Buddhism, they talk about skillful. They say, did the things I do, the activities I engaged in, did they deliver me the result that I wanted to have, right? In other words, I'm trying to lose a couple of pounds a week consistently. Is that happening? No. Okay. Well, I'm not a bad person. I'm not weak-willed. I'm not self-sabotaging. I'm simply using the wrong strategy or haven't built up enough skill. Now, how am I going to know whether I've been using the right strategy or built up enough skill? Because I go back to my journal and I say, so what is the strategy that I've been using, and where have I been kind of getting like slapped upside the head by life a little bit and pulling me off track? Okay. So what we're looking for is proof of concept, proof that our plan is working, or proof that it's not. And it's not just about what you weigh on the scales, if weight is the issue in this case, or it's not about kind of, just how fast you're running or any of those physical things. It's about the entire experience, because you may be losing weight, but kind of you might realize that you're really short with the kids and you're snappy and you're pissed off because you're hungry all the time. Well, the chart would be showing you that, right? The journal would be showing you on your map that actually this isn't a particularly skillful way for you to go about getting the results that you want to get. So, the other kind of really cool Buddhist concept here is mindfulness, right? When we're mindful, we generally tend to make the best choices for ourselves. In other words, when we sit there and we really think something through and we take our time with it and we look at all the information and we say, well, what was working, what wasn't, what got me this result, what got me that, what knocked me back, and we sit down with that and we're actually mindful of the process, our results are pretty much always better. And journaling is another way to be mindful. Okay, it's a way to sit down and actually ask yourself some key questions about what worked, what didn't. If it didn't, it's not about bad, good, right, wrong. It's about, okay, so I got knocked off my diet today because I got really stressed, and when I got stressed, I went and kind of ate the bucket of Haagen-Dazs. Okay, let me be mindful then about what caused me to be stressed, and let's imagine now that that's going to happen again tomorrow. What will I do tomorrow if exactly the same thing happens? In other words, if on this map I can see that I'm still coming up to the same challenge, how can I take a detour before the challenge gets me? That's the value of journaling, right? So a lot of people underestimate the value of it. A lot of people kind of think it's just one of those pain in the arse activities that your coach wants you to do, but you never really kind of truly feel the value. Well, that's hopefully I've kind of joined some dots there and made it a bit more kind of a concrete concept. Hope you found that useful. I'd love to hear your questions. You don't have to be in agreement with me, and I'm certainly not nagging anyone to start journaling. It's certainly a different idea, right? It's certainly a different concept around the value of it. And I'd love to hear your feedback on that. So I look forward to hearing from you. Till next time, take care.